every good story has a good antagonist, someone or something that adds a threat to our main party of heroes. Whether it's a person like Thanos from Avengers, or an organization like Team Rocket in the Pokemon games, a great antagonist makes a story even better. And Xenoblade is no stranger to great villains. And then there is Moebius. They're not bad, just laughable. A comment in comparison is that there's kind of like a Sunday morning cartoon villain, something that, well, I cannot refute. So today, we're going to find out how they got that fun little comparison, and I do want to note that this video will spoil the entirety of the game, so there's no shame in putting this in your watch later folder or bookmarking this video until you are ready to watch. Trust me, this game is better experienced blind. But that's enough for me. Let's get started. Firstly, let's define a Moebius and what they are protecting. Moebius are the organization that controls basically everything in the world of Ionios. They have stopped time from moving forward so they can live in the eternal now, which gives them immortality. However, to live forever, they must feed on the life force of people who die. In order to get enough life force, they have made the two big nations of Ionios, Keves and Agnes, engage in an endless war. And those who die in battle help only to feed the colony's flank clock, which the clock runs out, the colony's soldiers die, and Moebius. These guys seem pretty unstoppable, but they have one fatal weakness. Unlike soldiers who die in battle who get reborn, Moebius do not get reborn if they die. So, besides that one weakness, these guys seem like they've got everything under control, including Zed, who is the leader of these operations. But wouldn't it be a shame if a group of 6 20-year-olds and 2 Nopon ruined everything? Now, as Kevis and Agnes are warring nations, it might be a bit difficult to get 6 people from opposing nations to come to an agreement on anything. But you haven't met the best therapist in Ionios, Guernica. After Noah and Mio's group fight, he manages to calm them down, and at the very least, get Noah and Mio to agree that this fighting is all kind of dumb and pointless. Unfortunately, Moebius aren't a huge fan of therapy, and strikes Guernica right through the heart with lightning. This is where we meet our first Moebius, Moebius D and J, but we'll call him D for now since he does all the talking. After mortally wounding their therapist, he challenges them to a fight. Now you might be wondering why Agnes and Kevis are here in the first place, and it's because of this funny looking stone. The consuls, which are just Moebius, sent them there to destroy the transport, and for whatever reason, they didn't just need one nation for this simple job, but that's how we find ourselves here. Oddly, D doesn't seem too concerned about that stone, which Moebius themselves wanted to destroy, and while he's busy fighting Noah's group, Guernica, who D somehow didn't kill, activates the stone, which turns out to be an Ouroboros stone. Now, this wouldn't seem like a huge deal, unless you consider the fact that Ouroboros is historically the only thing that can defeat Moebius, and history repeats itself as Moebius D then subsequently gets curb stomped by 2 kids who have never used this power before now. In fact, he gets beat so badly he has to send out the bat signal to other Moebius that he just got his butt beat. So, I don't know what happened here. Moebius D clearly should have known that Moebius were trying to destroy that Ouroboros stone, but he clearly didn't prioritize taking it down and rather trying to kill Noah's group to maybe destroy the evidence or something. Regardless, it was a huge mistake because now they have opened a huge can of worms that they didn't want to open. But at least Zed doesn't seem too concerned about it.
Even if you did stop its raging flow, it will soon burst through. All it takes is the slightest fissure.
But this begins a domino effect of bad decisions that Moebius make to attempt to stop Noah's group, and you're about to witness the most incompetent villains in history. The first plan Moebius put into action, in theory, is actually a good plan. All Moebius have a cool ability where they can control an entire army only using their iris, with the victims of this trick having no memory of this ever happening to them. Moebius used this trick a few times, but the first time Noah's group is introduced to this is in Moebius' first plan. Ethel is the leader of Colony 4, and she is a fearsome warrior with a dedicated army. The plan is to use this ability on Ethel and throw the entire army at Noah's group whenever they get too close to the colony. A great plan, but the Moebius in charge of this mission, K, completely fumbles this plan, but I have to admit he does get somewhat cucked. Before we can understand why he got cucked, we need to talk about irises. Everyone has one, and it is installed in one of their eyes. I can best compare this to a phone, where at a touch of a button they can check things like their flame clock or current mission details. Moebius uses their irises to their advantage as they transmit the things they want their victims to do through the irises. However, they have one weakness: black fog. You know how if you go through a tunnel, your phone will lose signal? Well, that's what black fog is. It messes with the iris signal, and transmitting information becomes much more difficult. So, when you know it, black fog is present on the exact day that Moebius K wants to execute this plan. In fact, he complains about it, but instead of modifying his plan, he attempts to brute force the plan. And initially, it goes well. They get the jump on Noah's group, and they are forced to retreat. But as Taya notes while they're retreating, the soldiers are not working together at all, and are instead just running up to Noah's group one by one, which defeats the entire purpose of throwing the entire army at Noah's group. But luckily, they fall right into their trap and have to face Ethel. and it goes well initially as she is making Noah's group struggle, but at the most inopportune time, the black fog messes with Kay's iris signal, and Ethel realizes she is fighting against some of her old friends, so she stops fighting them. This forces Moebius K to step on the field, and somehow he's doing worse than Ethel. He then transforms and reveals that Moebius all have a cool special ability that only they can do. His ability is being able to heal from flame clots, which basically makes him invincible. But for some reason, while he's using this ability, instead of attacking Noah's group, who would be helpless against this attack, he just fires pot shots at the group, which he can't see because of the black fog. And initially, Kay's sloppiness is not going to matter, until he gets too careless and loses complete track of the group. Now, I'm not going to completely blame Kay for the destruction of the flame clock, because realistically, would you really expect this guy to be sheathing a sword that can destroy flame clocks? But he wouldn't have had the opportunity to destroy the flame clock in the first place if Kay had just stayed down on the ground with the group instead of taking pot shots. Well, regardless, the flame clock is destroyed, which takes away Moebius K's entire strategy, and he gets destroyed, which frees the colony from Moebius, so now they don't have to fight any other Agnes colonies anymore. Looking back at this plan, I think it is sound enough, but just general sloppiness in the execution of said plan pretty much ruined it from the start. And the worst part is, Noah's group only got stronger from this plan, as it made Lance and Senna realize they can become Ouroboros alongside Yumi and Taya. It made Noah realize that if he uses the Lucky 7, which is the sword that broke the flame clock, he can free colonies. So I don't know, this plan went about as bad as possible for Moebius. So why not try it again? After they saw that go down, Moebius reconvened and discussed how Moebius K failed. And then Moebius J comes in and asks to set off alone, and for some reason, Moebius approved of it and let him walk. What's his plan? Get Colony Lambda, an Iron Rank colony with a fearsome warrior as the leader with a great Pharaonis, have them set up a trap, and then kill Noah's group. If this sounds familiar, then you'd be correct, because this is essentially the exact same plan that Moebius K did. And it has essentially the same outcome. Noah's group get 3 new Ouroboros swarms, with the Agnes characters taking the lead. The flame clock is destroyed. Tyon gets trouble because Commander Izzard said some really mean things to him, only to find out it was a mud puppy created by Moebius J, who turned out to be Yorin, Lance, Noah, and Uni's old friend, who died and is now a Moebius who is actually trying to kill them. But unlike with Moebius K, Yorin gets out of there and essentially just wasted all of our time and gave Lance trauma. So after 2 of their plans failed, Moebius realized that they actually will need to use their collective 2 brain cells and think of an actual good plan. And luckily, In is here to bail them out and provide a solid plan. The plan is simple. While Ethel is at Kevin's castle giving a report to the Queen, basically blackmail her into doing what you want her to do. It should be noted that people who are freed from the flame clock cannot be influenced by the Moebius Iris control trick, so that's why they need to use an Annihilator to threaten the destruction of her colony to force her to do what they want her to. And somehow capture Kamaravi, probably threaten his colony with the Annihilator off-screen, and force the former rivals to team up. Was the condition for their colonies being spared? Destroy Noah's group, get them souped up Pharaonises, throw 2 Moebius in tow to make sure things don't get too crazy, and watch them absolutely destroy Noah's group. Wow, Moebius, I didn't believe it, but you actually gave it some thought and produced a pretty solid plan. And since they have a constant feed where Noah's group is, they can easily get the jump on them once they inevitably get too close to the castle to destroy the Annihilator. And so the plan goes exactly how In plans it to go, and they easily catch Noah's group off guard and engage onto them. But I forgot to mention one key fact. They used an Annihilator shot in the Urian Mountains to showcase the power of it to Ethel before they aimed it at Colony 4. The way the Annihilator works is that it harnesses black fog surrounding it, and uses that to fire the large beam wherever they want it to go. Black fog isn't infinite, so they can't just fire another Annihilator shot quickly, they have to wait for the black fog to come back before they can fire another shot. Or at least that's what I'm led to believe, based on the actions Moebius do next. You see, Ethel and Kamaravi are not incentivized to use their full power, regardless whether their colonies are on the line or not. Noah's group stands a far better chance of stopping an Annihilator shot than Ethel and Kamaravi could ever hope to have. Which is why when they see Noah's group beelining for the castle, they realize they're trying to stop the Annihilator, thus saving their colonies. Both Moebius O and P, the 2 Moebius assigned to this mission, soon realize this, and Moebius O attempts to use Moebius eye control on Kamaravi, since he still has a flame clock. Kamaravi then pokes his eye out, which kind of ruins this entire operation. Now granted, this has probably never happened when Moebius tried this, and Kamaravi is just built different, so he withstood it long enough so he can make the decision to poke his eye out. But now, the choice of Ethel and Kamaravi in this operation has completely backfired, since they have no control over them. So they do the next natural step and kill them. So now, they've completely wasted 2 Pharaonises, and now Moebius O and P are mad. So much so that they're going to pick a fight with Noah's group. And we get to see a fine display of Moebius overconfidence leading to their downfall. Moebius O and P interlink, and then while showing off how cool they are, they get decked by the cat girl. And I mean decked! Take a look at this.
You'll ride in agony before me!
Naturally, this motivates Noah's group, and even the soft-spoken Tyon goes on to speak like an anime protagonist. So now they've really messed up and get curb stomped by Noah's group. They get to the point where they begin to trigger an annihilation event, which is the same thing as what the Annihilator causes because they've been interlinked too long, and get cut off the cliffside, dying. So what went wrong in a nutshell? They used two people who would have no motivation to help Moebius at all, knowing Noah's group exists, and they got a little too hot-headed, and because of this, they wasted two Ferocious and lost two Moebius in the process. So what's N's next great plan? N has witnessed O and P get curb stomped pretty easily by Noah's group, so its next grand plan is to send D and J after them. Yes, the same D and J that got destroyed earlier when it was just Noah and Mio interlinked, with no backup. Although this is idiotic, N's plan looks good initially. All D and J have to do is hold off Noah's group from destroying the Annihilator, which is supposedly aimed right at Colony 4 right now. If they can allow the Annihilator to fire, then it doesn't matter if they win or lose, they just have to buy time. And they're buying a lot of time. And a big reason for this is because Uni is absolutely terrified of Moebius D. Moebius D basically killed Uni in a previous life, and she has a fragment of a memory of him killing her. And Moebius D actually uses his brain for once and uses this to his advantage, attempting to make her more terrifying. Moebius D and J have also been in the weight room because they are able to take on a 2v1, which is something I didn't think they had in them. But part of the reason they can do this is because they have little receptors on their interlinked horns that gives them the rough position of everything around them. But somehow, they throw this, and it's because they fall for one of the easiest tricks in the book. While they're busy fighting the other two, Uni and Tyon devise a plan where while they're far enough away, Tyon uses his interlinked form to create clones of themselves and bait Moebius D and J into attacking a clone. And it works! Moebius D and J push themselves into a corner, get completely surrounded, get stepped on, and go down with the destroyed Annihilator that Tyon uses his Mondo to destroy. It is pretty amazing that this plan nearly worked, to be fair, but Moebius D and J, just like the stone, threw it all away because they got a little too ahead of themselves and got punished for it. But what if Moebius actually had a good plan for once? Hey there, Editor Noah here. You might have noticed throughout this video I've given little to zero story context, and that's because it's not really relevant to the discussion. But for this next Moebius plan, you do kind of need to know a little bit of story context to really get why Moebius do what they do in this plan. So I'm going to give you the story context that you need. So remember Guernica? He told the group with his dying breath that they need to go to the city, and luckily, Noah's group has finally found the city. They meet up with the leader, who turns out to be Guernica's daughter, Monica, and she shows the group around the city and shows them the way the city lives, which is like our lives. You know, with having children, living longer than 10 years, and not constantly fighting each other. This convinces Noah's group that they need to help the city in their fight against Moebius. And another thing that you need to know is Mio. So, when Noah's group first met, they were all 8th termers, which meant that they had around 2 years left to live, except for Mio. Mio only had 3 months left in her 10th term, and right now, where we are in the story, she only has 1 month left to live. So Noah's group is racing against the clock to try to get as much done with her as possible. But that's all the stuff you really need to know. I'm gonna go back to editing the video now. Bye! Thanks, Editor Noah. So, after agreeing to help the city, Noah's group goes to the Agnes Castle jail to attempt to free Gondor, Monica's daughter. After a bit of convincing, they get her to sign on to escaping the prison, and luckily, prison security will be at its lowest soon, so they will escape then. The plan goes great until they break up the prison's gates and see the entire Agnes Castle army surrounding them. Meet Shania, a person who isn't so happy with the city lifestyle and ratted out Noah's group's escape plans because of it. Moebius actually made good with this information and actually used their brains because this might be the best chance they have to capture Noah's group. So they bait Noah's group, then throw the entire army at them at once. At once. Moebius are undergoing character development. This is crazy. And in case this goes awry, they have two of the most powerful Moebius in M and N to oversee the operation. And Moebius are rewarded for thinking, as though some of the city is able to escape, Noah's group isn't able to, and get curb stomped by N. So much so that Moebius X, who is also on standby, uses a special stone to sheathe Noah's group's weapons. They did it! They captured them! Now they can kill them, and this whole debacle will be over. Wait, N, what are you doing? Oh my! So, N has decided to not execute them on the spot and set up a sideshow of sorts, and it involves Mio. Basically, instead of killing them on the spot, he will throw them into a high-security prison and execute them in a month. Because then, instead of Mio dying normally and being able to go back into the flow and be reborn, she'll be off-scene. And if you are off-scene, you are gone from the flow completely. N was definitely not thinking of this, by the way, when he set up this plan. I'm just trying to make sense of it. But it'd be pretty difficult to make this plan go off the rails. I mean, the city isn't going to be able to save them, and Noah's group has no way out because they don't have their weapons. So they aren't able to escape, and the day comes, Mio is off scene in front of the rest of Noah's group, traumatizing them, and then Noah is executed by M before everything goes dark. So you might be wondering, how could it possibly go wrong at this point? I mean, the initial plan was so good, and M made a little mistake by not executing them on the spot, but how could they possibly get out of this? Well, my friend, strap in, we're playing an RPG. So Noah wakes up in this cloud area with a hooded figure, and they show him the past lives of N and M, which is just Noah and Mio from a past life, and then after showing him all these things, the hood figure's like, hypothetically, if you were to have another shot taking down Moebius, would you do it? And would you do it with or without Mio? And Noah's like, yeah, I'd do it because I want to carry on Mio's legacy, because that's what she wanted. And the hooded figure's like, good answer, because M suddenly appears and then says she'd walk the path with Noah. Noah's then snapped back to reality, and M is stopped and executing Noah, and she walks towards him, and N says he's just a gentleman, allows M to do whatever she needs to do with Noah. She then says this.
I'm sorry. My hair, it's gotten kinda long. Will you still walk alongside me?
And then Noah realizes, oh frick, that's Mio, not him. And doesn't realize this until the both of them look at each other longingly and then realizes something is wrong. And looks at Mio's iris and realizes she's part Moebius and Ouroboros. He then realizes that if Mio is somehow in M's body, then where is M? And then he looks at the closed Mio's body left behind and realizes, oh crap, I just accidentally killed my wife because she was in Mio's body. So if I just accidentally killed my wife, I'd be a little bit inconsolable, which is exactly what N is right now. Mio and Noah then try to reason with him and try to tell him that N swapped bodies with Mio because N couldn't stand shifting around innocent life for an eternal life. But then N is a little inconsolable right now. He doesn't listen to a word that they said and picks a fight. Realizing the fight is unavoidable, Mio uses her Moebius power to break the handcuffs on the rest of the group, and it interlinks with Noah to break the stone that sheathed all of Noah's group's weapons, which catches X off guard. And then regrets picking a fight with the group because Noah slices through N with the sword of the end that Noah is now using because N just nearly killed his girlfriend, so now he's mad, and he's gonna let you know about it. After witnessing this, X realizes that she's going to try to have to get this idiot out of here, so she calls upon the fake Agni Queen to try to slow down the group, and she gets sliced through in one shot, so that was a waste. X then realizes that she has an Agni Castle Annihilator, so she aims it right at the sea because Shania has also leaked the location of it, and in the chaos, Moebius, X, and N are able to escape, and the sea gets destroyed. Or that's what they thought, because Mio thought ahead while she was in M's body. She warned the city that Shania had leaked the location of the city, and since the city is on a huge piranha, they were just able to move it out of the way. So they just moved it out of the way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Moebius threw away their best plan yet in about 30 minutes. Okay, let's catch our breath for a second. I know that was a lot of info to take in. The TLDR is that Mio is now in M's body, meaning she isn't dead, and got badly wounded, and Moebius X used both the fake Agni Queen and Annihilator to try to stop Noah's group, but both failed. If you're wondering how Mio got in M's body, it happened in the fight against her, where M sent out a purple orb type thing, and for everyone else, nothing happened. But for Mio and M, it stopped time around them and they discussed a bit, and then swapped body. You may also note that Mio used the exact same thing to show Noah the memories M had of M and N. So that's how that happened if you're confused. So, looking back, I think it's pretty obvious how this plan could have gone much smoother if N had just attempted to execute Noah's group on the spot after he captured them. It would have made it much harder for Mio to save Noah's group since Moebius was still on high alert at that point as opposed to them getting blindsided at the execution of Noah's group. But that's pretty clear cut as to how to fix that, and that's not as fun to analyze. So I looked deeper and found another huge mistake Moebius made in this chain of events. Initially, you may think of the time when Mio had warned the city of the impending Annihilator shot directed at them, and wonder why Moebius didn't immediately get suspicious. I also thought of this initially, but then realized that M has been a Moebius for over 1,000 years, as referenced in this cutscene, so she likely has the benefit of the doubt. Also, if she was there for maybe 10 minutes max, would Moebius really be suspicious? Realistically, all Mio has to say is that she's in M's body, there's an Annihilator aimed at you, and how she's gonna bail Noah's group out, and she's gone. That doesn't take more than 10 minutes, and if someone questions her on it, she could just say that she was scouting, making sure Shania's coordinates were correct, and no suspicion would be cast. But what could have been fixed is not something immediately noticeable. Let's fast forward in the story for a minute. At the beginning of chapter 7, Noah's group meets the Queen of Agnes, Nia. While they are trying to find a way to get into Origin, Lan suggests to Mio that they could use the Moebius teleporting power to get into Origin. Mio then reveals that she actually had lost her Moebius powers right after they freed Agnes Castle. Mio then suggests that this was due to Moebius Zed taking away the powers since they're under his jurisdiction. Okay, so let's see when this could have happened. The latest cutscene where Mio has her Moebius powers is this one, where it is clearly dark outside with Banana seemingly making dinner, suggesting it is at the end of the day. The next cutscene we see her in is her without her Moebius powers, as suggested by her being back in her normal body, where it is clearly morning. So sometime between the evening of the execution day and the morning of the next day is when she got her powers taken away. Let's go back to the cutscene where Mio makes her grand reveal, and I'm going to pause on the frame Moebius made their biggest fumble in the entire game. Right here. Why is Zed not taking away the Moebius powers right here? And right here, realizes that M is not in Mio's body, and Moebius have a live feed where Noah's group is at all times. So it is obviously not the only Moebius witnessing this. They even usually project this event high into the sky, so obviously Zed is in his theater, has got to be seeing this. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that the black fog was worse than usual that day, and this prevents Zed from directly seeing this event. Moebius X is right there, and is actively communicating with Zed as seen in later cutscenes. So this would then fall on Moebius X fumbling, but it seems that Moebius X is actively aware of the situation, as she is trying to figure out how to get in out of this mess. So she shows understanding that whoever is in M's body is not on their side anymore. So once again, this would fall on Zed for not doing anything. What was he doing while this was going on? Did he just walk out of the theater because what he just witnessed? Because X definitely told him the situation, so this purely falls on him. And you can't say he is preaching, all is a part of the flow, because he willingly took away Mio's Moebius powers after they freed the castle, willingly breaking the flow. Do you make it where you have to be unconscious to receive or lose Moebius powers? Because that's stupid! Why would you limit your own power? You're the one who rewrote the entire fabric of the world. Why wouldn't you give yourself the power to do that? You're willing to give M body swapping powers, which backfired on you, but you can't give yourself the ability to grant Moebius powers whenever? This is why Zed had his downfall coming! So quickly, I'm going to read off what Moebius lost due to Zed and N's incompetency. They obviously lost M, critically wounded N. They lost control of Agnes Castle and its Annihilator, but the biggest thing they lost was the entire nation of Agnes. By losing the capital of Agnes, you basically screwed yourself over, because word is going to get out that your queen was fake, and everything you were fighting for was for nothing, which is immediately going to turn the general consensus of the nation against you. So part of the fragile balancing act to give Moebius life force consistently just broke, and this leads to the shambles plans that Moebius enact after this point. To give credit to Moebius though, they do give it one last shot before letting Noah's group step right onto their doorstep, and it entails stalking Noah's group until they meet up with the real Queen of Agnes, and then assassinate her, leaving Noah's group with no real way to progress, letting Moebius slowly regain control of the situation. And initially, it goes great. Moebius and DJ are able to pierce her with a lightning bolt, killing her and succeeding on the mission. But then they just go and engage onto Noah's group, with their significantly weaker forms. So they have decided to fight Noah, who is willingly, now using the Sword of the End, the most powerful sword in existence, and the group who has stomped them twice in their more powerful form, and go, yeah, when we take them on in a 6v2, it'll surely go better. Naturally, it doesn't go better. It actually goes much worse, because Noah, Uni, and Lance are able to convince Yorin that killing people and being Moebius is actually really cringe. Moebius D then realizes that they need to interlink to stand a chance, but then he gets curb stomped in that form too. And Yorin then takes control of the interlink and betrays him by yeeting both of them off the edge, killing both of them. And to top it all off, Moebius D missed his third lightning bolt shot this game and missed the vitals of Mia. Yes, he missed all 3 kill blows in this game, all 3 of which were not expecting a lightning bolt heading towards them and mostly being still targets. Honestly, Moebius D is deadweight in this game because he single-handedly loses Moebius the Ouroboros Stone, an Annihilator, and the Queen of Agnes. So everyone will talk about how Moebius Zed is deadweight, but Moebius D is directly affiliated with most of the problems Moebius run into this game. So in conclusion, Moebius D is actually the most useless Moebius in this entire game. That plan was the last real plan that Moebius had from this point, as they just kinda let Noah's group grab all of the Origin parts, and then smash through Origin. After this, Zed sends out N without backup, he loses, defects from Moebius, and then X and Y run at Noah's group one at a time for some reason, taking notes from their fallen comrade K. Noah's group then walks into the theater, fights Zed, expose the weak point of Origin, get the entire world of Ionios to fight him, kill Zed, Noah and Mio kiss, boom credits, game over, the end. So what did we learn after all this? Well, if you take a look at the 7 generally thought out Moebius plans, only one of them really worked, which was the Noah's prison escape plan, but that wasn't even genuinely constructed. I mean, they probably got the information that they were escaping the day of from someone who wasn't even working with them prior to that. But regardless, you can probably tell why Moebius failed. All of their plans sucked, and they easily got outmaneuvered by 6 20-year-olds. But I guess at the end of the day, it is in character for them. They only really care about the eternal now, not the future. They only thought about the entertainment it would bring from those plans, not what would happen if those plans failed. But at the end of the day, that still doesn't excuse them getting outsmarted by a Nopon. Like, how do you let that happen to you? Hey, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. This video took a little bit longer than expected to make, but hey, I really liked how it came out, and I hope you all enjoyed the video too. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it because it helps the growth of the channel, and more Xenoblade content is on the way. So if you enjoy that type of content, I'm sure you will enjoy this channel. But With that, I'm gonna head out. I hope you all have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are, and I will see you all in the next one. This is Crystalized, signing out.